Who remembers this song?
Now Scott Stapp of Creed opens up about his struggle with an illness affecting millions of Americans.
Got so bad that you attempted suicide.
It was a pretty dark time.
Apparently called the White House and threatened President Obama.
I was completely out of my mind.
How Scott's diagnosis is giving hope to countless others.
18 years of suffering against something that I had no idea could be treated.
Coming up next.
Thank you. Today's show is about the number one thing we all want in life: as much time as possible with the people we love most. It's the secret to health and happiness. But it doesn't come easy for some of us. But with all of their success, few knew of the darkness that overtook Scott Stapp's life. Years lost to drug abuse and mental illness. It was only through superhuman resilience and the love of an extraordinary woman that Scott was able to reclaim the years he's lost. Scott's here today with his painful and inspiring journey. He's also sharing a diagnosis that saved his life. It just might help someone that you know. Then we're going to take a look at a viral video that will change your mind on aging. See what your spouse might look like in the future. And we're going to meet the longevity expert who can add years to your life. The answers, it turns out, are all in your kitchen. So let's start with a daytime exclusive. The harrowing story of Creed superstar Scott Stapp. It's a tale of booze, drugs, and mental illness that took Scott to hell and back. August of last year marked the start of a major meltdown when Scott began abusing his Adderall prescription and took a deep dive into a manic world of drug abuse, psychosis, and paranoia.
I'm under some kind of pretty vicious attack.
He posted videos online pleading for help in his fight against unnamed persecutors.
The IRS has frozen my bank accounts 2 or 3 times to leave me completely penniless.
At his lowest point, Scott packed his truck with guns and disappeared on a road trip, posting videos along the way.
You could make any claims you want about my mental stability, and that's exactly what these individuals who've defrauded me and stolen from me want you to think.
With these devastating videos, Scott laid out his problems for the whole world to see, leaving his family humiliated, frightened, and desperate as Scott's life continued to spin out of control. Scott, thanks for being here.
Good to be here.
How you doing now?
I'm doing good. One day at a time. I'm doing good.
It's true for all of us. Yeah. So it was less than a year ago that some of those very disturbing videos that we shared with the audience were posted by you.
Yeah.
Take me back to what was going on in your life.
I was completely out of my mind. I was abusing some prescriptions that I had for actual conditions that I did suffer from. But once I found out they could be abused, I began to do that. And I began to suffer some pretty horrific side effects. Completely delusional, hallucinating. Conspiracy theories were just swirling all around my brain. And I lost it. I lost it.
So you said you were broke, you were homeless.
Yeah.
You apparently called the White House and,
yeah.
and threatened President Obama. How much of that was true?
I did call the White House. I thought the president had been kidnapped by his Secret Service detail, and I believed it. And I was going to go to D.C. and try to save him. These were crazy delusions that were absolutely real to me.
Now, you've been suffering from depression.
Yeah.
None of us knew about it, but depression and addictions.
Yes.
For years.
Yeah.
When was the first time you deep in your soul appreciated you had a problem?
In 1998, right at the height of Creed's success, we had just moved into playing in arenas. So everything I could ever dream of was happening in my life that I wanted. My band was taken off, my financial insecurity was gone. I was beloved and adored by millions of fans. And I woke up one day and could hardly get out of bed. And I didn't know what was going on, but the show had to go on. And so that's when I began self-medicating and putting chemicals into my body to try to change the way that I felt to get me out of this depression.
It got so bad that you attempted suicide.
Yeah, yeah. I'll never forget that day. I had just gotten off tour and was dropped off at my home in my tour bus, and all the medications, pills, and other things, basically opiates, as well as Decadron, dexamethasone, steroids, corticosteroids, that were keeping me going on tour, I no longer had access to because the show had stopped.
Well, how were you getting access to them while you were on tour?
Anything that I wanted, I just had to ask for, and rock docs, if you will, would provide them for me at the shows, and all they wanted was a picture. And so I was abruptly pulled off those medications, so I went into hardcore withdrawals. And in that kind of psychotic withdrawal state of mind, which I was using alcohol to kind of help me get through that, I thought suicide was a solution. And I had recently purchased some guns, and I went and got those guns, and if it wasn't for a picture of my son that I looked at right at the last minute before I pulled the trigger, I would have ended it all. Yeah.
You were that close?
That close. I turned after I looked at that photo, and I shot up my house, the inside of my house. And it was a pretty dark time.
There were other times, I understand, that even when you weren't trying to hurt yourself, that you almost did kill yourself.
Yeah.
Like when you fell from the building.
Yeah. I had been up for about 3 or 4 days using amphetamines and cocaine and was in a psychotic state. I checked myself in to the penthouse at the Delano Hotel in South Beach. And I thought that the police were beating on my door, and they weren't. But I had a delusion, a hallucination that they were. And in an attempt to escape, I thought I would scale from my balcony to the balcony below, and I slipped and fell 40 feet and should have died that day. Should have died that day.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's one heck of a rehab process.
It took about a year before I could walk again.
A year?
A year. And my
I
wife...
had no idea it was so severe.
Yeah, I broke my hip, fractured my skull, tremendously long recovery process.
So Scott's erratic behavior eventually got so out of control that he almost lost the most solid thing in his family, in his life.
Yeah.
Your wife, the kids, everything.
Yeah.
New Year's 2005. Jacqueline was hailing a cab. Scott offered to help. The rest was history. A year later, they were married. Jacqueline's unconditional love brought new stability to Scott's disorderly life. In no time, they were a family with 3 children. But it didn't solve Scott's underlying problems. And he continued drinking and drugging.
He thinks he's part of the CIA. He thinks they're trying to kill him.
Jacqueline's desperation and fear are evident in this 911 call.
He collects a lot of weird belongings, a lot of pieces of paper which says C4 on it and explosives.
Finally, faced with no alternative, Jacqueline filed for divorce.
Scott's wife, Jacqueline, is joining us. You've heard the interview. It's pretty emotional to go through it.
Yeah, it was just such a devastating, horrific time in our lives.
What's it like to watch the man that you love, adore, melting away in front of you, disappearing?
Oh my gosh, it was absolutely horrific. I mean, it was devastating to see someone you love and the father of your children become another person and hear things come out of them so scary. You don't know who they are. I was scared for him. I was scared for myself. I was scared for the kids, what he was capable of doing, the thoughts he was believing. You know, what if he would act out these thoughts or show up at the White House? You know, it was a horrible time.
So there's a lot more to the story, if you'll stay with us. And when we come back, the desperate 911 call that finally got Scott the help he needed. Stay with us.
Next.
I'm not dead. I'm alive, and I need
some help.
The emergency call that saved Scott Stapp.
You called 911, so what compelled you to do that?
Fear.
And you received a diagnosis that surprised everyone.
Coming up. We're turning up with new ways to get your energy up.
I want you to rethink how you imagine energy.
My energy mobile is hitting the streets with the surprising on-the-spot boost that beats coffee.
It definitely gives me more energy. It keeps me going for a longer period.
Plus, would you smoke caffeine for energy?
I'm gonna try the newest energy fad, caffeine e-cigarettes, to find out what it does to my brain and body.
On the next Dr. Oz. That's coming up tomorrow.
We're back with music superstar Scott Stapp and his wife Jacqueline, who are here to talk about his recovery from addiction and mental illness. Now, Scott eventually made a frantic 911 call that was the beginning of his fight to get well. I want you to listen to part of this.
I'm running down the highway, okay? I've called 911 about 8 times on this trip I've had.
Who is trying to hurt you?
I don't know, okay?
You don't know?
I've been running for about 6 or 7 weeks, trying to keep them away from my family. Somebody told me that there's already a report that I've been killed, okay? That's already on the internet. I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm not dead. I'm alive, and I need some help. I need to go to the hospital, sir. Yeah, I'm having chest pain. Can I go to the hospital, please? Because someone's trying to kill me.
That's just unbelievable. You called 911 for help, a very different kind of help, but help.
Yeah.
So what compelled you to do that?
Fear. I was in that moment in utter fear for my life. And all I could think about at that time was, I'm never going to see my wife again. I'm never going to see my children again. And so the love of my wife and my family compelled me that I finally needed to ask for help. And so love saved my life.
When I hear it, I get goosebumps, just imagining what was going through your mind, and I'm sure those texts created similar reaction in you, Jacqueline. You went to treatment.
Yeah.
And you received a diagnosis that surprised everyone. A diagnosis that I want everyone to hear today. Please share it.
I was diagnosed bipolar.
Bipolar.
Bipolar. I'm so thankful that I have an answer. 18 years of suffering and fighting against something that I had no idea could be treated. And if it wasn't for this doctor here, I would never have gotten that diagnosis and had my life and my future handed back to me. And I'm so grateful.
So let's bring Dr. Shala Mudir in. She's a psychiatrist. Scott, obviously you have great respect for what she's been able to do for you. I'd love if you could explain what bipolar means and a little bit about how you figured out what was going on, Scott.
Yeah, so bipolar illness, also known as manic depression, is probably how most people have heard of it, is characterized by excessive emotional highs, mood swings, and depressive episodes that are significant enough to impair regular daily life functioning. So what happened with Scott is, since he was at Summit Malibu and we had a lot of time to spend together, not only could we see what he was presenting with in our current episode, we had the time to spend with him to see his history of mood swings that were occurring over a 5 to 10 year span, even prior to coming to Summit.
So take me through what it felt like to be manic, and then how that changed when you went from that manic phase to the depression.
Right. Mania for me is full of anxiety, paranoia, delusions, where I kind of put pieces together in things that have no connection whatsoever. I may watch something on the news and it may apply to me in the way that I'm perceiving the world at that time. So it's not a fun place to be at all.
Jacqueline, did you feel relief? And what was the emotion that came to you when you realized there was actually a diagnosis?
You know, for a couple years, we thought, there's got to be more to this. There's got to be, this is more than just drugs and alcohol. But we did not know until Dr. Mudir and all the other, doctors really did the research and did the full history of like 20 years. Why is he, continually relapsing? Why is he always waking up saying, I don't feel well when things are going good around us. So yes, it was a lot of relief. You know, we're so proud. There's a lot of different emotions when he first came out with his diagnosis, though.
Dr. Mudir, how do you treat bipolar problems? What's the future going to look like for Scott?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say I love having clients like Scott who are introspective, determined, and courageous. He's so motivated for his recovery, and it's such a blessing for me to have been a part of it and to see like how well he's doing. So I just want to say that.
It's hard. It's hard to do what you're doing.
Yeah. So, you know, the treatment of bipolar disorder, we believe in complex multimodal treatment. And what that means is, yes, medication is important, psychotherapy is important, but lifestyle management figures huge in bipolar. And at the top of that list is substance abuse. What's also important is proper diet and nutrition, making sure you eat at regular intervals, you don't skip meals, and sleep. And then having a spiritual connection and a community connection are all really important.
So Scott and Jacqueline have to work hard, you can tell from just the diagnosis and the plan, to keep their whole family healthy and happy. So they very kindly invited us into their home to see how they're doing it.
There's the raindrops.
Since I finally faced my diagnosis, I've been really focused on caring for my mind and my body and my spirit. And I do that through love and family. I have to take medicine every day, but my recovery is much more than just medication. I start my day just spending time alone, meditating, because everything is contingent upon the daily maintenance of my spiritual condition. I'm on my way to my 12-step meeting, and every day I get a chance to go and be reminded of where I've been and where I never want to go again. It's critical for me to maintain a consistent daily routine. It adds a peace and a serenity to my life because I know what to expect.
Routine is very, very important for us, and my role is pretty much, keeping it all together, moving forward, balancing everybody's busy lives.
Jacqueline is an amazing planner and organizer.
We got to keep the kids moving forward.
She runs a tight ship.
We all work best, on a structure and a routine. Except sometimes I've got to, give this knucklehead a couple beatings.
One thing that my wife and I do together is our charity work. And we do that through a foundation called Charm.
We establish it to help other families that have gone through something similar to us, whether it be substance abuse, mental health issues, addiction. And we want to provide them with resources and, with hope and a way out.
Jacqueline and I have a fitness routine. It's an important part of our relationship.
It's so much healthier than the old days of, being into a dark place and not wanting to get out of bed.
Wake up, young man, it's time for... Doing a lot of writing right now. I'm working on stuff for my next solo album. I've gone through so much personally. Once the dust settles and everything starts to become clear, that's when the inspiration comes. I'm pretty excited. Mommy! When the kids come home from school, it can be a whirlwind at times. There's piano lessons, homework, snacks, all this restless energy that we have to contain.
Oh. The family is the pillar in our lives, and we really try to do things together.
All right, ready? I've learned there's absolute power in prayer. And I'm so grateful to God for my family, that they have loved me and stuck by me and been there when I needed them the most. And I hope that I live the rest of my life making a daily amends to them by the way that I live.
Wow. That's a very different Scott Stapp.
Yeah.
Scott, do you ever lie on your bed late at night, looking up at the sky and ceiling, and wonder if you're going to relapse?
It's something that I think about every day. Every morning when I wake up, I know that I've got a routine to do. I'm going to go to my meetings. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And everything that I do is helping me stay one step further away from a relapse.
All right. Coming up, we got a really wonderful story because I think Scott's going to be able to help others. And we have a wonderful story of that. Be right back.
Later in the show, ever wonder what your spouse will look like in the future?
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
See what happens when this couple ages 70 years, right before your eyes.
I hope you look like this. You look fantastic.
Coming up.
Music superstar Scott Stapp of Creed and his wife Jacqueline decided to go public with his bipolar diagnosis to help end the stigma surrounding mental illness and hopefully help others get well, as he has. So Scott, you've helped a lot of folks. And so we got a story. A very grateful young woman. Her name is Kayla, and I want you to watch if you don't mind. I think it's going to touch you.
My name is Kayla, and I am 20 years old. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder about a year ago, and I thought, my life is over. I left school. I was scared and isolated. I felt like I had no future. When I heard Scott's story, it made me realize my life doesn't have to be over. Scott faced his illness head on and went public, and that showed me I could too. That bipolar is manageable. I'm going back to school this year. I plan to live my life proudly and to the fullest. Scott got his illness under control, and so can I. Thank you, Scott.
Isn't that cool?
That's what it's all about.
You know what? I was so compelled by what I just saw that if it's okay with you, I'd like her to thank you herself.
I'd love to see her.
Kayla, come on out, honey. What a great story. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you.
Here, come have a seat. You know, it's so difficult for folks who have been in the dark spaces, have been to hell, as you said, to come back and then to hear that story touch others.
Yeah.
Go ahead, the floor is yours. You own the show.
I just wanted to thank you for inspiring me to, get back to school, get my degree, keep succeeding. And when I read your story, I was like, I can graduate. Awesome. I can keep going.
Fighting.
That's what it's all about.
Can you describe to everybody watching what it's like to be bipolar for you?
It's a little chaotic, really chaotic. When you're first diagnosed, it's really hard to manage. And to try to get it under control feels like it's impossible, I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I was dealing with different things for an amount of years, and once I was diagnosed with bipolar, I was like, finally, the same thing. I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. It really, it was a struggle, but it was a relief.
Yeah. Scott, how do you encourage the Kaylas of the world who are just struggling with a difficult task?
I tell you, the biggest thing for me was denial. I didn't want to be bipolar at first. But finally, when this situation happened, it left me without an option to consider other things. And so I think the number one most important thing that you can do is ask for help. Hands down.
Well, you did it, and we'll never forget it. God bless you, and thank you very much for being part of this, Jacqueline, as well. More than 60 million Americans suffer from some form of mental illness, and most can get better with the right diagnosis and treatment. You're witnessing it right here on the stage. It's not something to be ashamed of. In fact, be proud of the fact that you've beaten a really bad problem pretty effectively. I want to thank you all for being part of the show. I also hope that by sharing the stories that we shared today, people will get help, they'll go on, and they'll live long and healthy and happy lives for doing so. One last question, if you don't mind me, as a fan.
Yeah.
Forget the doctor stuff now for a second. Is Creed getting back together?
I tell you what, I sure hope so. I love those guys with all my heart. And if they're watching, come on, guys, let's make a record.
You heard it. You heard it. The answer is yes. We'll be right back.
Later, what if you could add years to your family's life just by what you're cooking for dinner?
Cooking is a challenge. Everyone is still picky.
I'm going to ask you to think differently about the way you shop.
Healthy recipes for longevity that everyone in the family will enjoy. Coming up. My energy mobile is hitting the streets with a boost that beats coffee. Plus, would you smoke caffeine for energy? Caffeine e-cigarettes. Find out what it does to my brain and body on the next Dr. Oz.
That's coming up tomorrow. In today's conversation, we're redefining what it really means to grow old together. A young couple in their 20s got a glimpse into the future just before they walked down the aisle. A team of makeup artists transformed them to age them before our eyes. You got to see this.
I'm Christy.
I'm Tavis.
And we know each other because we're getting married.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah!
Let's do it. I hope you look like this.
Oh, thanks.
You look fantastic.
Oh. Your eyebrows.
I can't help but think about what the potential last 50 years were.
Yeah. Oh.
Hi. What would be the last words you guys would say to each other?
I guess I would always just want to make sure he knew how much I loved him.
There's so many things that I couldn't be without you.
What a fabulous reaction. Thank you to Cut and Field Day for sharing this wonderful video with us. And by the way, Christy and Tavis from that video are now married. And they have an official wedding photo. Here they are. It's wonderful. Wish them a lifetime of happiness. All right, so that poses the question, would you want to see what your spouse looked like in the future if you could? Sort of scary. Any newlyweds out there recently married? Oh, hi. How are you?
Good, how are you, Dr. Oz?
And it's your husband, I gather?
Yes.
So do you have fears that he'll look like his grandfather when he gets older?
I'm sure he will age like fine wine.
Fine wine?
Yes, and I believe that true love is blind, and if it isn't, I'm sure I'll be blind by then. So
I was intrigued by this whole story. So I did a little experiment. I found an app that allows us to transform ourselves, because I was curious what Lisa and I, because we've been married 30 years now, what will we look like 30 years from now? Take a look. Whoa. I look like Clark Gable. I haven't seen that before. Gosh, I hope I look like that. All right. So my best advice to keep a marriage going into the 90s is to reinvent yourselves. Every couple years, don't get lazy, reinvent yourselves, because it makes it worth the time. All right, up next, we're taking a lesson on how to live to age 100 and make it worth it.
Coming up, learn how to cook from a longevity expert
The journey to a longer, healthier life really begins in the grocery store.
to add years to your life. And coming up later, silver is the new chic, the trendy and youthful way to being gray. Coming up.
We are bringing healthy back this season and want you to bring it too. Grab your prescription pad for fun and sign up for free tickets today. You can go to droz.com/tickets and sign up. Did I get it right? Today's show is all about getting you the most years with your family. And my friend and longevity expert, Dan Buettner, reveals the secrets to living to 100 in his book, The Blue Zones. Now, he says it starts with dinner tonight. Right now, we can make this difference, and anybody can do it. It's time to head to the grocery store with this family of 6.
My name is Sandra. I'm a busy wife and mother of 4 daughters. First, give me that glass over there. Cooking is a challenge. Everyone is still picky, and we don't always make the healthiest choices. We're an Italian-American family, and we do like our pasta. Pasta with peas, pasta with sauce, pasta with garlic and oil, pasta with butter. A lot of times we do takeout. My husband does have high blood pressure. It's time to start making healthier choices. We want to live a long life.
I want to be around for my kids. I want to be around for my wife.
We sisters would love to live to 90 years old. That's if we don't kill each other by then.
We want something that is healthy for our family, but also is not a lot of fuss, and that everybody will like and enjoy. I feel like I could use some help.
We asked author, educator, and longevity expert Dan Buettner to show Sandra and her family how to shop for and prepare a healthy, tasty meal that won't break her budget.
All right, can you show me around a little?
Okay.
Where to keep the veggies?
Tomatoes.
I like to go into a kitchen and I can tell pretty quickly if this is a healthy or an unhealthy environment. I give this kitchen about a C+.
We need to do a big food shopping.
All right, let me take you.
Please.
All right,
I
let's
can
go.
use some help. Let's go.
All right, Sandra, we're gonna have some fun, but I'm gonna ask you to think differently about the way you shop. I always like you to start at the produce aisle. This is where you should spend most of your time, and I would argue most of your money. I know your family loves tomatoes, so we're gonna load up on these babies right here.
Go ahead, Sarah. My mother would call that Pinocchio.
Pinocchio. The journey to a longer, healthier life really begins in the grocery store. Sandra, I tried to show her what are the foods that really associate with longevity. Okay, here's where the skies open, an array of goodness comes down from heaven right here, beans. The cornerstone of every longevity diet in the world, and then gather the ingredients so we can make 4 dishes tonight that our family's going to like.
I know fruits and vegetables are healthy, but will my family eat the fruits and vegetables? What's going to be different about the way he's going to prepare it that they're going to say, I like the way this tastes?
Have you ever tried tofu?
No, I have not. I've seen it, I've heard about it, but I have never tried it.
We're opening a whole new world to you, girl.
Yeah, okay.
We're making 5 things from the blue zones. In order to eat healthy, you need 4 things. Number 1, you need to have the right information. Number 2, your kitchen has to be set up so it's easy to cook it. Number 3, you have to have the skills. And number 4, you actually have to like it. So the idea here is to make this food taste good and have this family discover it on their own so they keep doing it for the long run.
They're doing a lot of chopping, but I'm not really sure what the outcome is going to be. It smells good.
Throw it in there.
It feels like a sponge.
It looks like meat.
It tastes like meat, but it's about 5 times healthier.
Okay, well, we'll see.
I had tofu one time and it was like rubbery. I've never had it. It was kind of gross.
All right, team, congratulations. We have our Blue Zone feast. Icarian stew, the Sardinian summer pasta, the Loma Linda stir-fried made with your favorite vegetables, the sweet potatoes from Okinawa, and the sourdough bread. Let's dig in.
Yeah. Wait, we're gonna give it a try.
So, Sandra, Billy, their daughters, they even brought a friend who never leaves. We all have one, a family. Yeah. And they're all here with longevity expert and author, and should I add, Chef Dan Buettner. So, describe this family to me. What makes them interesting to you?
Well, okay, it's a traditional Italian-American family. I have to say, Sandra was awful brave to let me invade her kitchen for a day.
But you made quite a mess that night.
They have great values, and I think that's a cornerstone for longevity anywhere. They actually had a manifesto right on their wall. They eat together as a family. But on the other side, they kind of buy into this same American myth that we don't have time to live healthy. And if your family and health is a priority, you do have that time.
Yeah, you make that time for what matters. So, there was a lot of interest here. However, there were times when I noticed a little trepidation. The girls, for example, you didn't seem too excited about that tofu.
My problem child was Grace down there, who's also my favorite.
I don't know if she's still a favorite fan of tofu.
No, I don't like tofu.
I'll tell you though that knowing how to make tofu taste good, like we try to do in the Blue Zones, and Emily was my big fan. She actually tried it.
At first, I really didn't think I was gonna like it, but it was all right. I probably wouldn't eat it too much again, but I did like it.
It grew on you.
Yeah, it did.
And it was good in the dessert, though, I have to say. In the dessert, I liked it.
You had tofu in the dessert?
In the dessert. You put it in a blender. It didn't look so good when it was in the bowl, but...
We're going to cover some of these. I do have
good.
questions about the details, but the bigger theme here is how do you get a family, any family, families are watching right now, motivated and keep them staying on track for a program like this?
Yeah, well, if I told you the most motivating thing in the world, you wouldn't remember it for long enough to make a difference. So really kind of the ethos of Blue Zones is you have to set up your life, and more specifically to this, what we're talking about now is your kitchen so it's easy. So having a junk food drawer like what you have, we're all gonna eat junk food, but if you put it out of sight, out of mind. I think there's 3 foods you should never have in your kitchen. Processed meats, soda pops, sugar soda pops, and packaged desserts. And if you can just keep them out of your kitchen, you're winning half the battle right there without even having to think about it.
All right, so when we come back, Dan's going to show us exactly how to design your own meals to live a long and healthy life and make it easy to do so you do the right thing. Stay here.
Later, 50 Shades of Grey is more in style than ever before. My energy mobile is hitting the streets with a boost that beats coffee. Plus, would you smoke caffeine for energy? Caffeine e-cigarettes. Find out what it does to my brain and body on the next Dr. Oz.
That's coming up tomorrow.
All right, well, Sandra, when it comes to the American diet, there's nothing more meat and potatoes than, well, potatoes. Your family like potatoes?
Yes, they do.
Let me show you an upgrade. Right here, you reach over the aisle to the sweet potatoes. They're not only full of beta-carotene, they're the cornerstone of the diet of the world's longest-lived people, and they're delicious.
Dan Buettner's dinner with Sandra and her family was a great success, and that is proof that eating like a longevity expert is easy and cheap to do in real life, and you don't need to go get exotic foods from all over the world. So let's start with the things that you need to serve to your loved ones, because there is some food decisions. You start with sweet potatoes and coconut milk paired together. Now that sounds really, really tasty. This is a photo actually taken by the family. Actually, you know what? You guys have leftovers, don't you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Let's get some leftovers. Come on now.
Yeah,
Why
so-
talk about it if we can be eating it?
So, so when you put coconut milk in, you're not only going to again lower the glycemic load. The sugars are going to absorb more slowly, so it's better for you. Watch, I'll spill it all over you. But also, the real secret, if you want to get people to eat the right food for a long time, you have to make it taste good. What do you think?
That is so good.
Do you know how hard it is to make that? You mix 2 ingredients. Even you could do that, Dr. Oz.
So what are the ingredients? Literally just
sweet potatoes boiled, and then you add coconut milk, and then you get Grace to mash it up.
And why do you have to add the coconut milk? Why is that so important?
Well, it lowers the rate at which the carbohydrates absorb, makes it less likely they'll end up on your hips and more available to use as energy.
Oh, I love that. And what is this?
This is the Icarian stew with black-eyed peas. I mentioned that beans are the cornerstone of every longevity diet in the world. You tell me if it's good enough to eat every day.
That's really tasty.
Yeah, it tastes meaty, doesn't it? There's not 1 ounce of meat in the whole thing. And raise your hand.
What's
We won't go into that.
Here. You know what? I don't want to be greedy. Share this with I'll take the one that I ate out of. Please share that with the audience over there, Sandra. Thank you.
Raise your hand if you guys like the Icarian stew. There we go. Of course, Grace keeps her hand down.
And is this the dessert, the tofu dessert you're talking about?
How much do you normally like tofu? Yeah.
It's not as good as steak, but I get through it. For the reason you stated, though, you know I know I don't want to have meat every day or even fish every day.
Yes. So tofu is high in complex carbohydrates, high in protein. It's cheap. All the hipsters in Los Angeles are eating it now. If you go to celebrity restaurants like Crossroads, that's on the top of the menu. And that's my cream dream dessert.
You should sell this stuff. I'm serious. So what's in here?
It's tofu, coconut milk, a little bit of honey, some chia seeds, and then some fruit compote. It took me about 15 minutes to whip up.
I taste the chia. It's a little chewy in there.
Yeah, that's what makes it kind of thick and pudding-like.
So we got all the food here. And Sandra, are you guys happy with the food over there? Oh, they're sharing.
Oh!
Yeah, they're eating with their best friends. Part of this, the success story.
And there's a lot of love in there. These guys all cooked it with me.
You look younger already. All right. So you argue actually, it's not just the food we eat, but how we eat it.
Yes, yeah. I think it's important that you pre-plate the food at the counter and not serve it family style. If you're serving it family style, you're probably eating 20 to 30% more calories than you need to. And then really beginning a meal by expressing some gratitude, putting some punctuation between the busyness of your day and your meal. And you want to slow down, make it less likely that you're going to overeat before your belly's too full and your mind realizes.
One little trick about my youngest one, my son is really growing fast and he'll eat everything and much of it. He has to plate with veggies first, which I know you do too. All the veggies you want the first time around, you can go back whatever else you want, but you got to finish that first plate. And that's a nice little secret.
Yes.
Love having you.
Good to see you, man.
Nicely done, Zach. You can find all of Dan's recipes on DrOz.com. I want to thank Sandra and her family for opening up their house. We'll be right back.
We're turning up with new ways to get your energy up. I want you to rethink how you imagine energy. My energy mobile is hitting the streets with the surprising on-the-spot boost that beats coffee.
It definitely gives me more energy. It keeps me going for a longer period.
Plus, would you smoke caffeine for energy? I'm going to try the newest energy fad, caffeine e-cigarettes, to find out what it does to my brain and body on the next Dr. Oz.
That's coming up tomorrow. 50 Shades of Grey. It's more in style than ever before. That is the gray in your hair, very specifically. Instead of rushing off to have their hair dyed, women are embracing a gray hair, don't care movement, opting to go au naturel.
There are lots of younger celebrities like Kelly Osbourne and Pink that are going as far as dyeing their hair gray. And gray hair has also made a fashion comeback. And the other doctors, they high-five you when you actually get gray hairs because it means you deserve to be doing what you're doing. So sometimes it's good to have gray. I actually believe you ought to embrace your natural beauty anyway and have a sense of self, a strong sense that you're actually worth it. That way you're less likely to be anxious down the road whether you get gray hair or not, and you'll live longer if you do that. So, who here has let their hair go gray? How about you guys? You know, you look the same. Do you know that?
Actually, I met him waiting online.
Yeah, we never met before.
You haven't?
Yeah, it is just
because you look uncannily similar. How about your hair? Any gray there?
No, thank God.
37 and no grays yet.
Are you guys twins?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so. It's safe to say.
This is what happens. So who's got gray? Natural gray. Here we are. All right. How are you?
Hi.
That's natural gray, right?
This is natural gray.
Are you proud of it?
Actually, I am. I feel like I am redefining for myself what beautiful is.
Any trepidation in the beginning about letting it go?
Well, I used to chemically straighten my hair, and I had scalp burns and hair breakage and even bald spots. So when the gray started coming in, no dye. Not doing it.
Well, I like the way it looks.
Thank you.
And I got to ask one more question. Is that real?
Yes, it is.
It is?
Yes.
You didn't dye that?
No.
And how long has it been like that?
Well, I started like when I was 18 or 20, and then I wasn't very happy with it, so I started wearing bangs and covering it. And then as I got older, it got bigger, so I said, well, what the hell? Let's just leave it the way everybody likes it. Everybody tells me
I
so.
adore it. I think it is so cute, so cool.
Thank you.
Very, very happy for you.
Thank you.
You got lucky. All right, tomorrow, all of you'll be talking about this because frankly, having gray hair or not caring is pretty cool. So use the hashtag GrayHairDon'tCare to celebrate your look. And remember, healthy and happy starts at home. I'll see you tomorrow.